A pleasant good evening. You are listening to the program The Voice of Pilgrim, emanating from Pilgrim Baptist Temple, St. James Road, where our senior pastor is Reverend Dr. Leroy Nathaniel Major. We are known as the Church with the Open Doors, hence our hearts are also open to you. For more information on this radio broadcast, you may contact our church at 393-3644. Sponsors for this broadcast are Telecom Bahamas Limited at 376-8999, Easy Trucking at 357-4394, The Craft Shack at 829-7412, ATC Financial Advisors and Consultants at 376-0411, and also the fine members of the Pilgrim Baptist Temple.
Good evening and welcome to the Voice of Pilgrim. I'm your host, Minister Kenrick Curtis. Tonight, our topic is prostate in the Bahamas. And our scripture text is 3 John 1 and 2, which reads, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. It seems that every time you listen, someone in the Bahamas is being diagnosed or dying from prostate cancer. Yet, despite the supreme effort of doctors, people seem to know very little about this disease and what we should do about it. Hosea 4 and 6 tells us that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So tonight, our guest is Dr. Robin Roberts, a Bahamian and Canadian certified urologist who specializes in treating disease of the kidney, bladder, and the prostate. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And welcome. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here. It's good to have you here. It's good to have you. In the beginning is the word. So let us begin. Dr. Roberts, first of all, what is the prostate gland and what do you do about it?
Well, the prostate gland is a very important gland in a man. It's very important for his reproductive system.
Okay.
And I want you to imagine the size of a sour line.
Okay.
Because that is what the size of the prostate is.
Wow.
It sits to the bottom of the bladder.
Uh-huh.
In fact, the bladder runs through the middle of the prostate to go out through the urine passage into the penis.
Okay.
Now, what the prostate gland does is that when I want to just put your mind back to just relax a minute. When you are looking at our reproductive system, the way it works is that a man produces a sperm, a woman produces an egg.
Yes, sir.
Now that sperm must get outside the man into the woman.
Yes, sir.
So that sperm is made inside the testicle of a man, or what we call the balls. Now, when it travels down that tube runs through the prostate.
Okay.
And what the prostate does is that it makes the white fluid, the seminal fluid, or what the local people call the skeet. That white fluid is responsible for keeping the eggs alive. It gives it energy and direction, it protects it. So that when a man now ejaculates, or when local folks would say when he comes, and all the fluid comes out, that fluid therefore helps guide the sperms to where it's supposed to go.
Okay.
So the prostate gland is a very important gland in a man, okay? And very important for his reproduction.
Okay.
Now, there's another problem with this prostate gland. If I could show it to you in a picture. God put the prostate gland very deep inside.
All right.
You can't feel it from the front.
No.
The only place you can feel it is that the doctor must insert a finger inside a man's back passage.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the only way you can feel it.
Okay.
And so most men find that very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and secondly, a lot of men think that that's an invasion of their body.
Yes.
Okay, and that's you will see that that's a grievous fault.
Yeah.
And so it prevents a lot of men from going and getting the checkup that they should have.
All right. So what age do you think is right for a man to get his prostate checked?
Well, the prostate is, I like to think about the prostate as one of the most fascinating glands in the body. It is the only gland in our body, the only organ system in our body, that when you reach the age of 40, it starts to grow. Everything else in our body actually starts to pass away. Our hair starts to drop out, turns gray, our skin starts to wrinkle, our joints become they become rusty or they have arthritis. So everything starts to fade away. The prostate, like it takes on a new life when it grows. It gets bigger. In fact, it continues to grow. Now, when it grows, most of the time, it just grows. We say that it is a benign growth. It just gets bigger and bigger. But because of where the prostate is situated, under the bladder, and the outlet from the bladder, that is the passage to take the urine from the bladder to the outside, passes through the prostate. As the prostate gets bigger, it squeezes on this passage. And as it squeezes on the passage, the urine doesn't come out as strong as it used to. And so the men will tell you as they get older, one time they could stand and pee and hit the wall. Now it's just to the floor. And then, as it's not coming out well, it starts to collect in the bladder. Not as much come out. And then it starts to build up. And so it fills up more quickly. And then you get a feeling that, listen, I want to pee more often. So you find that you pee in more often. You find that you wake up in the night to pee. You find that when you want to pee sometimes, you just have to go. These are all signs of the prostate getting bigger. And then in about 10% of men, the prostate gland becomes so big, it just cuts off the bladder completely, and then you can't pee. You have what the old people call a stoppage of water. Okay? So this is why the prostate gland becomes very important for man as he gets older. Now, here is the problem. Sometimes that prostate gland gets big because it forms a cancer. And so now as the cancer grows and the prostate gets bigger, you start to have the same issues that you would find from a benign growth of the prostate. Okay? And so that is where the issue comes in with the prostate, in terms of what it can do to you, how important it is, but at the end of the day, as we age, it becomes almost an organ that can lead to our demise.
Wow. How often or how common is the prostate cancer among our men?
Well, the reason why it's so important, because on one instance, when you just look at this benign growth, 50% of men will have problems because of this prostate gland getting bigger. And of that 50, at least one in 10, about 10% of them, will have a complete stoppage of water. And so when you get older, the chances are very likely that you are going to have some problems related to your prostate getting bigger. But then the other thing happens as you get older, the chances are that that big prostate will also have a cancer and cause you problems. What kind of problems you talking about? In this country, I'll give you a better idea. I'm not going to talk about the big numbers, how many a year. But when we look in our small country in the Bahamas, that all my now almost 40 years experience since I've come back as a urologist, every 2 weeks in this country, if you go by the numbers, at least 2 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. To keep up the numbers that we have. And every 2 weeks, at least 1 man will die of prostate cancer. So I will tell you that every family in this country will tell you of some family member that has died of prostate cancer. So what is the likelihood of you getting it? Very likely. That's the first thing. The second thing about this prostate cancer is that when it comes to men of African descent, of which over 80% of our population, it seems as if prostate cancer is in our genes. It's more likely for that cancer change to occur at an earlier age. Some men in their 40s. Every now and then you find one or two even before you reach 40.
Yeah, wow.
Okay? It grows at a faster pace. It's more likely to spread. We are more likely to have this aggressive disease that will lead to death. And in fact, when you look at the data at individuals right next door in the United States, you will find that black men are 2 to 4 times more likely to come with prostate cancer problems. And they are at least twice more likely to die from prostate cancer compared to their white counterparts.
Okay, I get you.
So this prostate cancer in black men is a very vicious disease.
I've heard you was talking earlier, you was talking about saying that by the age of 40, it starts to grow. Let's say now a person at 30 wants to go and get a check. Can they?
Yeah, so now 40 is, we consider 40 to be the magical age. In fact, now there's some countries they go to 50.
Oh, yeah.
But in our black population,
40.
we think that's advisable for us to start at the age of 40 as opposed to 50.
I've heard, earlier I heard you talking about it, but can you give us the symptoms or the signs to, let's say we might think we have prostate problems?
I took the time to tell you the kind of problems that the prostate gland can have because of where it sits inside your bladder. When the cancer starts in the prostate, it starts off very small.
Small.
I'm talking about something the size of a BB gun shot or less.
Okay.
And it takes about 10 to 12 years to grow to the stage where you begin symptoms. So what it means is that the most common symptom that you will complain of when you start that prostate cancer is no symptoms at all.
Wow. Wow.
So when you present when the prostate cancer has grown to the stage where it's doing the same thing as the benign growth. So when it starts to press and squeeze on the bladder, and when it starts to do that, it's too late. That cancer's already broken through. So you don't want to wait until you reach that age.
No.
You understand? You don't want to wait till you reach that stage. So you want to know, knowing that it grows very slowly, you want to get yourself checked very regular, just in case. See, it's very similar to a woman's in terms of breast cancer.
Okay.
And there's got quite some similarities because the data shows that in the Bahamas, that our black women are very, very prone to having breast cancer. And it's shown that it's something in our genes. We have the highest prevalence of breast cancer in the world. We've shown that when we look at our women with breast cancer, that 20% of them, 1 in 5, get the breast cancer because it was in their genes.
I get you.
Okay?
I get you.
And so similarly in prostate cancer, we know that we haven't been able to quantify how much it is with regards to genetic component, but we know that if you have a father or brother who had prostate cancer, that you are 2 to 3 times more likely to get it.
Wow. So how, last say now in my instant, I had a grandfather who died from it,
Yes.
and my uncle who died from it.
Oh,
My
yeah,
chances are very slim.
you are at high risk.
Oh, Jesus.
So therefore, what you need to do now is you need to make sure when you start to reach around 40, that you become very conscious that if this thing starts in me, I have a high likelihood I can inherit it. I'm going to start getting my checkups, and I want to pick this up before it starts to give me symptoms.
Yes. How often would you recommend a man to go check on it?
Well, there are 2 things I have to get you to appreciate. That one of the problems we had with prostate cancer for quite some time was that the only way we were able to detect prostate cancer was when it had grown big enough to feel the difference.
Okay.
So what you want is, can I detect it before I can feel it, before they have symptoms? Okay? And that is where this blood test for the prostate comes in, the PSA, or what is called a prostate specific antigen.
Okay.
Okay? So the prostate makes a chemical that's released into the blood. And what we know is that men who have prostate cancer, that they release much more of this chemical in the blood. So if you see the chemical is high, if the PSA level is high, there's a likelihood that you might be having prostate cancer. And the higher it is, then even though then you really up a creek. It's highly likely. So when we measure that level of the PSA in the blood, we normally give the normal values between 0 and 4. We don't like to see it higher than 4. When your PSA levels is less than 4, it's most unlikely you have prostate cancer. Now when it starts to move between 4 and 10, it starts to go up. And then 10 to 20, it goes up. Now when you get 20, over 20, boy, you in trouble. But we have men who come with the PSA in the thousands.
Yeah?
Thousands.
Wow.
Because that's when they realize they have it. Okay, so what we do then is we recommend that when you reach 40, that you do two things. You do the blood test for the prostate, and at the same time, you get your prostate examined. Now, the PSA has been a very big thing now, because men, they don't like to have their finger. You understand? So they very like that. And the blood test is more accurate.
Yeah, it is?
Oh, it's much more accurate than the finger. Okay?
Okay.
But there are two problems that you have with the PSA. The first is that it is not as accurate as we would like it. Okay? Because in addition to prostate cancer, there are quite a number of things that can cause your blood test to be elevated that have nothing to do with prostate cancer. As the prostate gland gets bigger, as we get older, with no evidence of prostate cancer, the bigger prostate gives you higher PSA. So the most common reason for your PSA to be higher than normal is a bigger prostate, a benign prostate. The second thing is that you also must know that when you're going to do this blood test, when you have sex and you ejaculate, it causes your PSA to go up.
Yes.
And it takes 2 to 3 days to come back down.
How long?
Yes. So therefore, when your doctor tells you that you should not have, that you should have your PSA, he should also be telling you that you should wait at least 2 days, ideally 3 days, before you take the test, because it'll be false reality. Okay. Even if the doctor, when he does that exam through the back passage, if he examines it too hard, that can cause your PSA to go up. Okay. Now, a very common thing that you can have in your urine is infection.
Yeah.
So if you get infection in the urine, if you get infection in the prostate, any infection in the urine system causes your PSA.
So sensitive.
It's very sensitive, you see? So therefore, when your PSA is elevated, it doesn't necessarily mean you have prostate cancer.
No.
Especially when it's elevated just a little bit. For example, if your PSA is up between 4 and 10, the chances of finding prostate cancer is less than 15%. So you got an 85% chance that higher PSA is not due to prostate cancer. And so now, when you reach 20 now, and 30 and 40 and 50, it changes. Now you're in a higher likelihood. If someone comes at a PSA over 100, you can bet your bottom dollar that's prostate cancer. Okay? So what we are recommending is that you get your PSA done.
Okay.
The second thing, which seems to be going out the window, people are saying, well, the PSA is better, we don't need to put your finger in that. You know, and so some doctors are even advocating that. I do not advocate it. I believe very strongly you have to have both. And here are the reasons why. Number one, as we said, that blood test is not as accurate as we like it. There are up to 15% of cases in some research, up to 15% of people who have normal blood tests, normal PSA, when you examine the prostate, you will have, they have obvious prostate cancer. And so the combination of the two gives you the highest yield.
Okay.
That's number one. The second thing is that men have this phobia about putting the finger in the
Yeah.
Well, You know, I'm a physician.
Okay.
Every opening in the body can give us some sign of some disease process. We appreciate all the problems that can happen in the mouth.
Mhm.
You can have cancer of the tongue. You can have problems with your tonsils.
Yeah.
Okay? You can have problems in your nose.
Yep.
You have
Right.
nosebleeds. Okay? You have problems with your ear.
Yes, sir.
So every opening in the body can be a place for you to detect disease, and detect the disease. They should be examined. Well, the back passage, the rectum or the anal area, is no different. And even more so, because we don't normally look at it, so we don't know what's happening. So the doctor should examine that. Look to see if there's any disease around. Look to see if there's disease in the skin. Look to see if you don't have disease with like common problems like what we call hemorrhoids that people have all the time, or piles. And then you can have cancer in the anus. You can have cancer in the rectum. So when you put your finger in the rectum, you can feel those cancers if they're low down. So therefore, it's very important to do that rectal exam as a part of your total examination. So it's not to say, I don't want to do the exam. Doctors don't like doing that exam, believe me. In fact, I always tell them, if he looks like he enjoys it, maybe he got it wrong. Okay? So I believe very strongly, I always take a little extra time to say that I disagree that the rectal examination does not have an importance or should be done. Okay? And I think it should be a very important part of our general and annual examination that we have, along with having your PSA. So what we recommend is that individuals, when they get their annual exam over the age of 40, they should make sure get their blood test as a part of their checkup, and get their digital or rectal exam as a part of the checkup, while they're doing other things. In other words, check your high blood pressure, or check your pressure, that is, make sure it's not high, check to see if you have diabetes, check your cholesterol, all the routine things that you do.
Okay. All right. I get you, sir. So let's go back to the PSA for a moment. You said that we got to be very careful when we take in that test to make sure, you say 2 days before we take it?
2 days, no sex.
Okay. Oh, no sex.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You should withhold from doing having sexual intercourse.
Okay.
Okay, for 2 days prior to the test. Once you take the test, then you go back and do it.
So there's it normally comes down on its own.
Yes, it'll come down. It'll come down in 2 days, 3 days maximum. It'll come down.
All right. Okay. Now we know for what I've heard, the test take the prostate is uncomfortable, but is there any pain towards it?
Well, it's uncomfortable because we're not used to it.
No.
In a normal circumstance, we shouldn't get used to it.
No.
You know, but let us look at the realities. Compare our feces. Our feces is 2-3 times bigger than my finger.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing, you're gonna have lubrication to make it easier. You get a man in a relax, get them to relax. It's always easier to examine the prostate with the man bending over a bed, or you can have him in the bed and he can be bending in what we call the frog position. All right? And it is an exam literally that should last no more than 1, 2, 3. Finish.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay, the experienced finger should be able to examine the prostate with less than 5 seconds. You know, such thing where 1 minute he's still feeling around. Something is right. Okay,
All right.
so it's a little uncomfortable, but most men, you know, it is more their phobia.
Mm, okay.
You know, I am very active, and we talk later about an active provider in our annual prostate cancer screening clinic that's held by the US2 group of the Cancer Society. And let me tell you, you know, sometimes in an evening we'll have 100+ men coming. One night I had a record of over 300 men who came to get their prostate exam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, so you think I'm going to be standing there for a long time? No way.
No.
And most men would tell you, oh, Doc, I didn't know it was such simple. I didn't. Most men would tell you, it's not a big.
So let's say now we got checked it, and we detected there's something wrong. Where do we go from there?
Now, so what you have to do now is you are concerned. Do I have prostate cancer? You have to do what is called a biopsy.
Okay.
So you have to take a sample of that prostate gland
Mm-hmm.
and you have to send that to the lab. And then they would look at that under the microscope to see if there are cancer cells. And the way we do that biopsy is normally we have a device or the X-ray machine. It's called a rectal probe, and basically it's about the size of my finger, but it can take X-rays, take pictures of the prostate. So when I insert that in the back passage, just like my finger,
Mm-hmm.
we actually can see the picture of the prostate, the whole prostate. So we can see exactly where we're going to put a small needle, about the same needle as we take for taking blood.
Yeah.
And we take a small little pinch, and that little pinch literally is about 1/10 the size of a BB gun shot.
Wow.
So it's not a big thing. It literally, it looks like about a thread about 1 inch long.
Wow.
So it's very small, very fine. And we take various areas in the prostate. And we know that those various areas that we take in the prostate, that is very likely that you get research shows us that you would pick up the prostate cancer. Okay, because see, the ultrasound that we use, while it allows us to see accurately where we are going, it can't diagnose if there's a cancer in the prostate.
Okay.
But now recently, we have shown that a more advanced X-ray machine called the magnetic resonance imaging, the so-called MRI, can pick up areas in the prostate that could be cancer. So now that it's becoming kind of relatively popular. The problem is that that's expensive. Okay, that X-ray you're talking about almost $1,000.
All that?
That's right.
Wow.
Just to get the X-ray alone. Okay, that excludes the biopsy.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Wow.
And so therefore we that's why we tend to favor the ultrasound now. Is being shown that because of the MRI, you can pick up the cancers a little easier in that you can go spot on to where you see it, as opposed to the ultrasound where we can't see it, so we're gonna sample quite a lot of different areas, so
Okay.
you get less sampling. And that biopsy is not to be taken lightly, because you are going to the rectum. The rectum is full of bacteria,
Yes,
sure.
yes, yes.
And so when you put a needle in, you have a likelihood of putting infection in the
Yeah.
prostate. So you can have a very bad infection. Some infections, in some instances, 1 or 2 instances, the person might die from that
Yeah.
infection. So we don't take very lightly.
Okay,
And so we like to make sure the PSA is accurate. So we've had great advances where there are quite a number of variations, tests that you can use to make the PSA more accurate.
Wow.
We even have the type where you can test the urine to give you a better picture.
Okay.
But again, these have not stood the test of time in terms of accuracy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's say now we found out, we took the test, we took the biopsy, it came back now that we have prostate cancer. What are some of the treatments to take, and what are some of the treatments can we take?
Oh boy, now that is a big area. You see, because we realize that there are basically 3 types of prostate cancer with regards to the course of action it would take.
Okay.
You have the ones which you call at very low risk. So in other words, the cancer grows so slowly, it'll never bud.
No.
It might take 20 or 30 years before it happens. You can see it invades the body. And so we've realized today that not all men have prostate cancer. We have to go and do something about just watch it, keep an eye on it. And we can particularly check their PSAs on a regular basis.
Okay.
All right, we can examine the prostate. We can take x-rays and see if there's any change.
Okay.
And if there's no change, then you don't have to do anything. Because the next step now is that, where is this prostate cancer? Is it confined to the prostate, or has it spread outside, what we call metastasized? If it is still in the prostate, in other words, we call it organ confined, hasn't gone anywhere, then think about it. We can take the whole prostate out, and the cancer's gone.
Yeah.
Just like a woman has a breast
Yeah,
cancer, and they remove the breast.
Mhm.
Okay? So we call that a radical prostatectomy. We're going to remove the prostate and all its surrounding covering. So it's radical. We call it radical prostate removal prostatectomy. The problem with that, as I told you, God put the prostate in the wrong place. See? It's stuck right next to the rectum. It's stuck up under the bladder. It's placed behind the bone, the pelvic bone. And it's sitting right on top of the valve of the prostate.
Wow.
And the nerves that go through to the penis for erection is stuck onto the covering of the prostate. So that means this operation has a lot of complications that can happen. First and foremost, at least half of the men or more, at least half, after the operation will lose their ability to have an erection. If you're 60 and 70, the chances are never come back on its own. It's on the top of the valve, so at least 20% plus of men have problems controlling the urine after, whereby they have to wear a pad, or they have to wear a tube all the time, or they have to wear a diaper or pampers all the time. Okay? Now, it's a big operation. You can have a lot of bleeding, you can have infections, so the potential complications that can occur are very high. But let us say it goes very smooth. If you have a lot of experience and you're used to taking these operations out, you still have the two big issues that remain. Losing your erection and being able to control your urine. You hope you got out all the cancers. Well, that's called a trifecta.
Okay.
That's what you want the operation. So it's because, a man's whole lifestyle has changed. Yeah, I'm 50 years old, I'm 60 years old, I'm still young, and I got a young wife, and I enjoy my sexual activity. I get this operation.
Yeah.
Now we have to wear a pad. So it changes their whole lifestyle. And so one has to be very, you have to think hard. Now, we are doing the operation better, where we can spare those nerves. And now we don't even have to cut open. We can do the robot, or we can do what we call minimally invasive surgery, so we use pinholes.
Yes, okay.
But again, that hasn't changed so far, those complications that we talked about.
Okay.
You might have less pain, you move around it earlier, but the major things that you are concerned with, time hasn't shown that it's made a difference. And they are much more expensive. So, rather than surgery, we can also kill the cancer by radiation. Okay?
Yes.
And you can put the radiation from the outside, you can put the radiation as seeds in the prostate. Well, the beauty of those is that you're not going to get cut, you don't have to worry about bleeding, you're not going to worry about getting incontinent or losing the urine, but you might have an issue whereby you can still down the road have problems with your erections. Okay? So those are the two main. So we can watch it if it's mild, we can remove it if you want to get the whole thing, or you can give radiation. There are also other treatments when they haven't proven the test of time. For example, you can have a procedure where you just apply heat to the prostate, or you can actually freeze it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's called cryosurgery,
Okay.
or you call high intensity focused ultrasound. So there a lot of new stuff coming out, but they haven't stood the test of time.
Okay, that's what that.
Okay? Now, when you reach the position where you have the prostate cancer outside, so it's not organ confined, then of course, taking out the prostate itself isn't going to be a solution. You have to apply other things.
Okay.
And this is where the issue comes out, whereby the male hormone produced by the testicle, it acts like a fuel, it feeds the cancer. And so what we have to do is stop the testicle from working. And that's like you take this food away and the cancer cells die. And so that's a good treatment and lasts for years. In fact, we're getting so good with the medication now. We're getting better and better medication. The first set of medications we had, it lasts about 2 years, and then we didn't have anything else. But now we're getting newer medications. So, but these are expensive. Some of them cost up to $5,000 a month. They're very expensive. So you don't want to wait until you have advanced disease.
No.
You want to have it early. And I like to put it this way. This is a disease as we age, in your 50s and 60s. 50s and 60s are the best times of your life.
Yes.
You know, the kids, they gone, finish school now, they get married. You just finished paying off the mortgage. And then all of a sudden you go to the doctor, and now he tells you that you have prostate cancer. You didn't feel anything.
No.
But things already spread.
Yes.
Your whole life changes. The little bit of money you had saved, gone. And something which if you would have a regular checkup, you could have treated long time and continue through the full life.
I get you, sir. I get you, sir. Well, as we wrap up, Dr. Roberts, is there any final words that you can say to our listening audience?
What I really want to say is this, that I want to remind the men that while I talk a lot about prostate cancer and the effect it can have and all the, what we call the morbidity, the pain, the complications from this prostate cancer and the death that we have, if we look at what are the common causes that will kill a man in terms of disease, prostate doesn't even rate 3% overall. You know what's the big thing? The hypertension,
Yeah.
the diabetes,
Yep.
high cholesterol, the heart diseases. Those are the things. Okay? But if you are healthy, a good healthy diet, exercise and so forth, it's also good for prostate health.
Okay.
So what we say is a healthy heart
Yeah.
gives you a healthy prostate.
Yes, yeah, okay.
So as the first thing, okay, get into the habit of wellness,
Yes.
not good health. You want to be well.
Yes, sir.
And wellness, unlike health, you know, we describe health as the absence of disease. Okay, but and you say you're in a good state because of absence of disease. No, you want to do better than that. You want to have a good state of health whereby you can live longer. So you want to be well, so you can run, enjoy
Yeah.
life. So therefore you want to talk about wellness. Okay, so you want to have good habits. Good habits getting your regular checkup. Good habits when you're a man over the age of 40, that you go and get your annual checkup, get your rectal exam, get your PSA, and realize that's the example that you want to set for your children coming up. Okay? And that's what we need for healthy Bahamas. Because right now, when we look at all the diseases in the Bahamas, we are a very unhealthy country. And I just want to close and say, you know, if this body is a temple of the Lord,
it is.
let us treat it like that.
It is, yeah.
That's what healthy living is all
That's
about.
it. Yes, sir. You have what you put inside it.
You get what you put inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sir, we thank you so much. We do appreciate you. We do appreciate you. Thank you for your knowledge, and thank you for explaining to us more about prostate cancer.
Yeah.
It
Thank
was
you
a
very much.
pleasure having you.
It's great to be here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And that's our show for this evening. Please join us next week for another informative, exciting show. If you've joined us late tonight, or know someone who missed the show and want to watch it again, you can join us at Voice of Pilgrim on Facebook at the Voice of Pilgrim Nassau, Bahamas, or on YouTube at the Voice of Pilgrim Baptist Temple, where you can watch and see the slides of Dr. Roberts' presentation. We would like to know what you thought about our show. So please email us at thevoiceofpilgrim@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts about the program. Join us next week. Same channel, same time. Praying for you and have a blessed week.
Thank you for listening to the program The Voice of Pilgrim, which was brought to you by Jonah Telecom Bahamas Limited, 376-8999. They install and maintain telecommunication towers from Bimini and Grand Bahama in the north to Inago in the south to ensure clear, continuous cellular service throughout the Bahamas. Easy Trucking at 357-4394. They specialize in flatbed and container deliveries and 20 to 40 foot chassis rentals. They make trucking easy with over 24 years of experience in the heavy hauling business. The Craft Shack, Wolf Road, opposite the Windsor Park, 829-7412, specializing in JUNKANOO and CARNIVAL supplies, balloons and party supplies, hats, fascinators, and jewelry making items. They supply the items, tools, and decorations for all your craft needs. ATC Financial Advisors and Consultants. With over 19 years experience in accounting and auditing, they offer reliable and professional service in internal audit, enterprise risk management, corporate governance, financial planning, and accounting. For more information, call them at 376-0411 or visit their website at www.atcadvisors.com. And also, the fine members of the Pilgrim Baptist Temple. Tune in next week, same time, same station, where we will be happy to bring you another interesting broadcast of The Voice of Pilgrim. God bless you and have a wonderful evening.